Welcome to Muddy River News this week. I'm Bob Goff. My guest today is former Quincy Mayor Chuck Scholz, and we're talking about the Bicentennial. No, not 1976, the Adams County Bicentennial. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. We need to get the word out that next year's our 200th birthday.
1825. We were talking just before we started here, the county, when the county was formed, and the county seat originally not Quincy, right?
Correct. In 1825, Pike County was everything between the Illinois and the Mississippi River, the old military tract from soldiers that had served in the War of 1812, and people like John Wood bought their tracts. So January 17th of 1825, we were still Pike County, and we were the little village of Bluffs. The next day, January 18th of 1825, the General Assembly created Adams County, named the village Quincy and the town square John. So John Quincy Adams. In 1825, in March, about 6 weeks later, he would become our 6th president. And we were founded by New Englanders, unlike most of Southern Illinois, which were Kentuckians and so forth, and not against slavery. Our founders very much admired John Quincy Adams, who was, his whole career fought against slavery and for equal opportunity. So I think it's significant that they named our county after him. There are 17 Quincy's in America, but we're the only one named for John Quincy Adams.
Really?
The rest are all named for Quincy, Mass., which of course where John Quincy Adams was from.
Right.
But it kind of sets the tone for City of Refuge. You know, those same founders were the ones that sheltered the Potawatomis, took the Mormon, that's been called one of the greatest humanitarian acts in history for 1,400 Quincyans to shelter over 5,000
Well, we are glad they eventually went north because, you know, we didn't want Joseph Smith killed in our town, so that's true.
There's a lot of history there. But, you know, also the Underground Railroad, of course,
Yeah,
a great history with that. And even our own immigrant ancestors that, you know, John Wood was really intentional about attracting the Germans to Quincy. And he spoke German. His mother was German. And Calf Town, what we call the south side of Quincy today, John Wood owned basically Main Street to Harrison, 24th to the river. So essentially the south side of Quincy.
Yeah.
And one of his inducements, especially in 1835, he built that first mansion. He wanted these German craftsmen. So he went down to St. Louis and he'd offer him a plot of land along with payment. And many of those folks kept a cow in the backyard. That was quite common. And that's how we have Calf Town today.
And also the Germans brought many beer companies as well.
We had at least 13 breweries. I've heard 13, I've heard 17, but very common and very good beer. And even Abraham Lincoln, who often proclaimed that he would not partake of spirits, beer was not considered spirits.
No, it's not.
And after the 3 hours of debating in front of 12,000 people with no amplification, he was ready for a beer, and on his walk down Hampshire Street to the Farmer's Home Hotel where he got the rum sweat and got revitalized, along the way he stopped at a little saloon and had a couple of beers. Beer in those days was a safe thing to drink as opposed to the local water. So that was a big part of it as well. But yeah, he was a little parched, I think, after.
I would think so too.
That's on our timeline of Adams County history, obviously. Number one most significant is October 13th, 1858 for the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Without that, there never would have been a President Lincoln.
So in what other ways are we going to honor and recognize Adams County over the next few months?
Our theme is educate, celebrate, commemorate. So under the education piece, we're producing an educational video aimed at 4th and 5th graders. We're working with our regional superintendent, Jill Reed's been great to work with. We have about 10,000 school kids in Adams County with public, parochial, city, county, and so forth. So we want to really focus on that 4th to 5th grade level, but we also want to give something to every school kid in Adams County that they were there for the Bicentennial. So we're going to print our timeline that we've developed, 1825 to 2025. And you know, if I just handed that to 10,000 school kids, about 9,900 of those would be in the wastebasket at the end of the day. So we're going to print that timeline on a ruler, on a 12-inch ruler,
Okay.
a wooden ruler. thanks to my friend Ron Becky and Refreshment Services Pepsi, which are always saying yes to anything good for kids. Problem is trying to get it down to 12 inches.
Well, do a yardstick.
Well, we talked about a yardstick, but the regional superintendent says 12-inch ruler is fine. That will fit in the desk. That will fit in the backpack.
Okay.
If we go any bigger, we're talking about
become
a
weapons.
potential sword fight there.
Okay, I got you.
So we will probably come up with maybe a yardstick or at least an 18-inch for the general public that people want to get them because, you know, I got rulers John Newpel gave me when he was running for state senate in 1974 or something.
Yeah, the rulers, the nail files, the matchbook covers, all that stuff people keep. And, well, I think just other things, if we have just signs, if we have events or whatever, because I've still got, it was my garage the other day, I've still got 2 signs that we had laminated on President Clinton's visit.
Yeah.
So
under Educate, we're going to be also taking this timeline. We hope to have a permanent legacy project, which would be a timeline on the county courthouse lawn. But in the meantime, we're going to print it up on a big wraparound on a semi so we can take it to Payson Old Settlers and Liberty Fall Festival. We have 13 villages in Adams County, and we want to celebrate each and every one of them. So the Educate piece, the Celebrate, we start January 18th on our 200th birthday, and the co-chairs for that are Kathy Dooley and Ryan Tanner.
well, that's going to get done then.
Yeah, if you're looking for a couple of impresarios, I don't think you can find anything better, and they're having a blowout at the Armory. So that'll be the big kickoff. But throughout the year, we hope the theme for everybody will be our Bicentennial, so the dogwood theme, Bicentennial. Getting into summer, there's going to be some music events here in Quincy. We're planning on a Chautauqua in Bailey Park and Camp Point, which they did for many years. A lot of famous people came through Camp Point. They've got a great picture in their library. William Jennings Bryan, Bailey Park and Camp Point speaking at a Chautauqua, which in those days might go on all week and involved all sorts of performances and lectures. Ours will probably be a one-day deal.
Probably best.
But we're trying to get a very prominent performer to come back to Adams County for that. It looks like that might happen. So that'd be very exciting. The sort of the biggest event and closing thing is September 6th at the Adams County Fairgrounds. We are going to honor every farm family in Adams County that has had their farm in the same family for 150 years. So when we first proposed that, I thought, well, you know, that's going to be a handful. There's about 75 of them in Adams County.
I was going to guess somewhere around 50, but wow, yeah.
So they're going to get a nice, you know, there's a state program for Centennial farms that have been there for 100. Ours will be a whole nother separate thing to put out on the front gate or wherever they want it. And they'll be recognized at this big party that we're going to have at the fairgrounds. They're going to get a nationally known entertainment there. But it will also give us a chance, you know, just again to celebrate together. There'll be some events probably past that. I think the Art Center wants to do something in December.
I imagine the fair itself that year will probably be really heavy on the Bicentennial
Absolutely,
too.
Absolutely. And we have so many interesting stories to tell people about either things that were made in Adams County or famous people from Adams County that went on to accomplish great things and so forth. And, you know, our own citizens. So we got Educate, we got to Celebrate. The Commemorate is we're going to be putting up markers. For the Lincoln Bicentennial, we put up 18 what they call wayside exhibits. They're kind of a tabletop, different, some are vertical, some are horizontal. We're looking for something like that, probably a little bit more like what the Park District has utilized recently as far as outdoor signage. And even at the Vets Home, there's now some, like on the west side of the Dudley Mansion there. That's what we're looking for. The first one I think that'll go up will be at 14th and Broadway to commemorate St. Mary Hospital. There's a group of retirees that volunteered to take the lead on that. And we'll work with Blessing Hospital on that. We have another Blessing site, the Blessing Power Plant, which is, I believe, on, is it on Oak?
9th and Oak?
9th and Oak. That was originally Lincoln School. Back before we desegregated our schools, that was the African-American school. And it still says Lincoln School on that. So it'll probably be a marker there. Very near there in 1863, 500 African-American troops were mustered at Bethel AME. And we're definitely going to put a marker there. That was the Illinois, they were called the Colored 29th, the only black regiment from Illinois.
Wow.
And many of them were Northeast Missouri. You know, after emancipation, came across to work in Quincy, but also to fight. And the thing that fascinates me about that particular story is they mustered them in November of 1863. They trained out where Lowe's is now. And by the spring of '64, they're out in Washington, and Lincoln stood in front of the Willard Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue and reviewed the troops. He'd never seen black soldiers before. The first ones he ever saw were from Quincy.
Oh, wow.
They had a lot of impact on him because, you know, originally Lincoln wouldn't have been for full equality in terms of citizenship and serving on juries, whatever. But by 1865, right before he was assassinated, he was for full citizenship. Well, he's very much influenced by black soldiers. The fact that they could fight for their country, they should be able to vote.
You know, wouldn't it be great if along the same line as we're celebrating our bicentennial, if you know, the good folks in Rome would then make you know, Father Gus a saint, if we could get that all coordinated.
Well,
can you make a call over to the Vatican and get that done?
I am a member of the Father Tolton Guild, and I can tell you that it is progressing. So we wouldn't be at canonization next year, but we could be at beatification. Yeah. One miracle of intercession for beatification, and then the second one is for canonization. And we're now at the point, after Pope Francis declared Father Tolton venerable, they have sent the investigators over here. I was there the day the cause for sainthood was opened by then Cardinal George in Chicago, and they swear in what used to be known as the devil's advocates.
Right.
But these are learned church historians who are the skeptics. So we have to establish that something has no medical explanation. And that's what they're looking into. And there are a lot that have been submitted.
And of course, we have Father Gus's historical markers here that we can have as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And actually, the Abraham Lincoln Heritage Area is doing something on Underground Railroad, and in Quincy they want to put up, we'll have another Father Tolton marker, and it's probably going to be on the south side of City Hall. City Hall's on the site of St. Peter's Church, which was the church where Father McGurr mentored Father Tolton. And interesting tidbit on Father McGurr, who was a great man. There's a guy trying to do a Father Tolton movie, trying to get people to invest in the production. And one person that's on his side on this is Kevin James, the actor Kevin James.
Really?
And he wants to play Father McGurr.
Wow, that'd be great.
Wouldn't it?
That would be.
It's such a, I mean, if you can imagine trying to roll across the Mississippi River to freedom while you're being shot at. You know,
That's incredible. Well, I mean, yeah, to get an actor of his stature, that'd be. I mean, because you know, obviously he's known mostly for comedies, but I mean, if he's up for something like that on a dramatic side, I think that'd be amazing.
One of my favorite Quincy stories. We're unearthing all these classics because you know the Herald Whig is now digitized, so you can go back and there's an article from the 1880s. Hampshire Street ended at 18th. Well, 18th to 20th originally was Quincy's first Catholic cemetery. First half German, second half Irish. Well, eventually St. Boniface created St. Boniface Cemetery and relocated their graves. St. Peter's created St. Peter's Cemetery where Father Tolton's buried. And they moved their folks. So the city was going to cut Hampshire Street through from 18th to 20th. But there were still graves that weren't associated with either St. Boniface or St. Peter's. And they hadn't been moved. So they're out there with their pickaxes and shovels, and Father McGurr is like, nobody's coming through here until all the graves are relocated. And they called the mayor out, so the mayor has his confrontation, which was a bad move politically. I checked, he did not get reelected. But it took a couple of weeks, and then the city council voted the money to move these other graves, which the story was they were Civil War veterans. Yeah. And once they were moved, Hampshire Street went through, but there are still some headstones that turn up in that neighborhood for sure.
Well, again, I think the Bicentennial is a great idea. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys will send us all the stuff, and we'll let people know all the events are going on.
And we'll let your listeners know we're going to be out there seeking sponsorships.
Sure.
We've actually been around for over a year, kind of silently putting everything together, but we have support from the city and the county, which we appreciate, and some private foundations. We're going to be going out into the business community, and I think you're right, Bob. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a celebration.
And so when is the kickoff per
January
se?
18th of 1825, we became Quincy and Adams County. So this coming January 2025, January 18th. We'll have a big birthday party.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Keep us posted. We look forward to being a part of it.
Thanks for Muddy Rivers coverage. Appreciate that.
That's all the time we have for now. Have a great week.